Hello, everyone. So, I'm here today to share a message from Jesus. So, I began just praying, Lord, help me to surrender to your will. Give me instruction and guidance on the decisions I need to make. Please strengthen me and forgive me of my sins. Bring me closer to your heart. Give me your thoughts and help me to handle every person with care. Jesus spoke. I draw you closer to my heart, my love. I know what you suffered and how hard you fought not to be consumed with having and conceiving a child. I know your desire is to accomplish my will for your life and to not waste any time. I see and appreciate your efforts, beloved, and it makes me happy. As I've told you, your trust in me is what's needed in this space. I don't want you to immediately take the words and opinions of others so easily. What do you discern that I'm leading you to do in each moment is the question you should be asking yourself every day and through every decision. This does not mean that I don't use others to offer support to you, but I also want you to continue in your training of hearing my voice and being led by my spirit, even if others may disagree with your decision making. You are here to please me and not others, and I don't do things the way normal people would. There is a plan being executed in this place, and I would like for you to begin a personal scripture study of women in my word who are barren, and allow me to take you deeper into why I allowed them to suffer this. Everything I allow is for a purpose, my love, and I want you to be extremely sensitive to the advice you receive from others. All of it is not from me and can lead to lifelong complications. Trust where I'm leading you with this and stay planted. Don't worry about your husband and if he will understand the things I will call you to do. I will convict him and speak to him so that he's in position to cover you in this area. I have a plan, Dominique. Please trust in me and know that you will be very happy that you did. I'm in all areas of time, so I see where you will be when you trust me with your life. Keep your focus on me, and I will provide you with instruction along the way. And Jesus continued, I want to discuss time and how I orchestrated it. This will be in two parts, so I would like you to write what you hear and not try to make sense of it as you often do when I'm giving you messages. I responded, I'm so sorry, Lord. Nothing to worry about. I just wanted to provide that beginning instruction. Now, everything I created was created within the basis of time. I mentioned how precious time is and how it's important to not waste it because there are things that were created to occur within particular periods of time. For instance, the time it took me to create the earth was not exactly in the time period that the Bible tells it. I did not reveal this to the writers at that time, so this is a deeper revelation. Time is not measured in heaven and the spirit world the way it is on earth. So one day on earth is 1 year in the spirit world. 1 year on earth is a decade here, and so on. Dominique has noticed this, but maybe not many of you have noticed how time seems to be speeding up very rapidly. You will begin your days and look up and they are over, and you barely remember what you did. This is done on purpose. With everything that occurs around you, it is measured and grown through time, including each of you as humans. This is done so that things mature the way they should and happen as I've designed them to happen. Unfortunately, many things are outside of my original plan and purpose for their times. So, in order to set things back in order, I must speed time up. This is why it is imperative for you to not waste the time that I've given you in your life. Time is not as prolonged as you remember it being in your childhood and earlier years of life. Things were not as bad as they are now, and because of the magnitude of evil and how it's affecting the atmosphere of the earth and the spiritual realm, time must be sped up to set particular things in motion. I know this doesn't make sense, but I will expound on it, and I ask that you pray for me to provide you with wisdom and knowledge on this topic. Time is connected to everything in addition to how things are operated in the kingdom of darkness. The evolution of technology is one of the main areas that the enemy has begun to infiltrate the minds of my children. What I created to assist, he has contaminated to put my children in the position where time is robbed from them outside of my will. He contaminates what I've created to open up opportunities for my children to become distracted and to eliminate areas of creativity and productivity. And He is patient in how long He will wait for my children to enter into having a reprobate mind. Yes, this definition is composed of being undisciplined, unruly, and unrepentant, hard hearted. Many are on the road to developing this mindset because they have allowed time to be robbed from them by their own selfish desires, which leads to further sifting from the enemy. Good time management is rooted in being disciplined in all areas of your life. If you don't have structure and discipline to things you do and are being led by me in the areas where I require it the most, you will be on the fast road to a reprobate mind. To go even deeper, there's a reason many women and men are allowed to parent multiple children out of wedlock. Where Satan tries to separate them from me by tempting them to sin in their flesh and give birth to many children outside of marriage, I use that same situation to give them the opportunity to find their way back to me by giving of their time and dedication to raising their children. For many, being given many children to care for will be the only way they will learn to manage their time wisely and be less likely to fall into a reprobate mind and spiritual death. This is the same for those who felt forced to be caretakers to loved ones who fell ill, and they felt as if they didn't have much of a life because they spent so much of it caring for that person. That was my doing in order to save them from the alternate path they would have chosen, which would have led to them developing a reprobate mind and spiritual death. Caring for others softens the heart in many ways not easily seen by people. I don't mean this for people who have been abusive towards those they were given to take care of, because they've allowed bitterness in their hearts when they knew what they were doing was wrong. They will be called to account for their treatment of those persons. But those who felt like they didn't have much of a life, but gave selflessly of themselves to those loved ones that needed care and attention, they will be rewarded and given a crown in heaven. Time is so important, my children, and as I end part one of this message, I want you to understand that I am very serious about the way you spend your time. It is not unlimited, and you must discern from me how I would like you to spend it. If you feel you're spending too much time on something that's not productive, I am convicting your heart to move away from doing that and going into something else that will be a much better use of your time. Don't discount my speaking to your heart in this area, because you will be called to account for how you spent your time in your life and how it affected the course of how you grew, and if you grew the way I intended you to. Heed my voice and die to your fleshly desires. Seek my will always, and you will never be led astray. That was the end of Jesus' message. And this is part one on his message to us about time. And this was such a powerful revelation and just word from Jesus about how he is speeding up time. And as he said, I have noticed this because he's allowed me to see it. He's opened my eyes and allowed me to see how he has been speeding up time. And, to be honest, it's been very shocking just to see how fast things are going. It's very shocking to see how fast things are going. And it's really important for us to be aware. And as with every message that Jesus gives to me to share on this channel, it's to build awareness, but to also grow closer to his heart. This is why, and I say this always, this is why this channel is called Merciful Love and Merciful Love's Letters, because these are letters from his heart, because he wants us to get closer to him. He wants us to build a closer bond with him. He wants us to pull away from the world. And even I have fallen into distraction, even as of lately, as of recently. And God had to really convict me about the way I was spending my time, not spending as much time in prayer as he's called me to. So there's been a lot of eye-opening things that he has been opening me up to and saying look, you need to structure your time better because you don't have a lot of it like you think you do, and I think a lot of us get caught up because, we get up every morning and we go into our routines. And so because things appear to be normal, right? Of course, other things may come up. There may be some good or bad things that may happen. But all of us are not always thinking about, oh, what if today could be my last day breathing, right? We don't think about that, but maybe we should, and not in a sense of being fearful of death, but in a sense of really investigating and evaluating, like, how am I spending my time? Like, what am I doing with the time that God gives me? And looking at each day as this is another opportunity to make good use of my time. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm wasting what God has given me. I'm wasting it. And he doesn't like that. And this is why he's saying that. He does not like when we waste time. And he feels so strongly about that because there is so much that he's called us to do. Each person, it may be something individually, you know, but if you are not positioned and you're not structuring your time properly to do those things he's calling you to do, then you can end up in spiritual death or have a reprobate mind, like he's saying and how he explained it. This is why he allows certain people to be put in certain situations that to them may seem unfair and like God is punishing them. But God is saying, this is the only way. This was the only life that I could allow you to have where you wouldn't lose your soul, where you wouldn't, develop a reprobate mind, where you wouldn't get into and lead towards spiritual death. So we have to look at everything we go through, whether good or bad. God is just trying to look out for us. He's looking out for us. And in the moment when we're in our flesh, we don't see that. We just see all of this is going wrong. Everything that I work for in my life, the things that I want from my life, and they're not going the way that I want them to. God, you're being unfair to me, and I've done all of this for you. I've done these things for you, right? And God is like, who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for me, or are you doing it for yourself? Because if you're really living for me, then you will allow me to pull and push you in any direction that I want you to be. And if that means that you have to suffer through some things, if you have to go through some things, as he said in the beginning about just where I've been with just the desire to have a child and conceive a child. It's been very hard, and as an update, for you guys, I think I have mentioned, or maybe God has mentioned in a previous message about just my diagnosis. And I know I haven't really shared that, but I may have another video where I share just a little bit more, detail about this journey that my husband and I have been on when it has come to fertility, because man, it's been really rough. And I have struggled with that. I've struggled with time. I've struggled with, okay, Lord, I'm getting older. I'm 32 now. And I'm just like, the time is coming up, and what's going to happen? These thoughts come up and I have to battle through them. I have to battle through doubt that I'm going to conceive again, and I've had a lot of different things happen. I have, different diagnoses. I have uterine fibroids. If any woman that understands what this is, or maybe you have them, if you're looking at this, maybe you have fibroids in your uterus, and I'll go into detail of what that is later. I'm probably going to do a video about this and sharing just my testimony. Even though I'm not over the hump yet, there's more things to be done. There are plans to being put in place, and I may share more about this in a later video. But having that diagnosis and didn't find out about it until I was pregnant with my first child in 2020, that was a lot, and then ultimately, losing my child and having issues with fertility. Like, I've really had to battle doubting God and just looking at time very weirdly, right? And not always feeling motivated to do things. And so I haven't always been the best with time and utilizing it properly. So this message was very convicting to me. And I pray that it is for you. I pray that you can look at this and not waste any time, no matter what happens to you, even if it's unfair, even if, you had a different plan. We have to submit to God's plan. We have to submit to his will for our life. And that means he may pull us and push us. And, we may feel like we can't make it, that we can't keep going, but we can if we look to him and realize that he knows the path that we should take. And he understands what we need. He understands what's going to build us spiritually more than we know. So we can sit and say, this is too much. But maybe for God, he's saying it's not too much. Actually, you can handle this. You're just telling yourself that you can't handle it. You're telling yourself that you're not able to get past this. But I know what's in you because I've created you. So we have to trust that God knows what we need and what we need to go through, what we need to suffer through to get to the place that he wants us to be. It's his will, not ours. Okay? So I hope this message encourages you. I'm going to share part 2 as soon as possible. I believe I did hear that from God, so I will be posting that soon. But I pray that this encourages you to not waste any more time in your life. If you have not been making a good use of your time that God gives you every single day, then now is the time to do better with that. Because a lot of things, can be at stake, and we don't want to waste anything that God gives us. And time is one of the most precious gifts that we have from God. We don't want to waste it. We want to utilize it and do everything with it that God wants us to do. So I would even challenge you to just look at the way you spend your days and say, can I do better? Is there some things that I'm doing too much of? Like he said, if we're spending too much time on something, and it's not productive, he may be leading us and convicting us to pull away from that and to do something more, as a better use of our time. So we just have to be mindful of that. We have to be very mindful of distractions. That is a big deal. And it's very easy to fall into distractions. I know I personally struggle with getting distracted with just little things. So God has to always reel me back in, and I have to come back to, wait a minute, no, you need to go back and do something more productive, or you were just doing this and now you over here doing that. You just got distracted. And it can happen to any of us. I'm not impervious. Like I said, I get distracted very easily, and God has to reel me back in and say, no, Dominique, you got to get back focused. You are distracted. This is not what I want you to be doing right now. And even if it's not a bad thing, it doesn't, have to be a bad thing that you're doing. It could be something good, but maybe God just doesn't want you to do that at that moment. Maybe it's something else that he wants you to be doing. So you have to ask him. You have to say, Lord, lead me to your will for my day. How do you want me to spend this day? Okay, outside of working and normal responsibilities, outside of that, because God takes that into account. He's not going to tell you, if you have work and things like that, he's not going to tell you, well, you just got to drop work and forget that. He's not going to just do that. He understands that we have responsibilities, but he comes first. And whether that looks like prayer, intercession, spending time with him, doing other things like that, we have to make sure that we put him above everything else in our life, and everything else comes second. He is first. And if we don't put him first, we're going to see the effects of it in our life. You're not going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel very stagnant. Okay. So I pray this encourages you. Thank you so much for listening. Be in prayer, be aware of how you spend your time, and ask God to help you with this so you can structure your days much better. All right. Thank you all. God bless you.